Reaction video time. This is from HITC Sevens, 7 footballers who are hated in one country.
Some footballers are almost universally loved or unanimously disliked. N'Golo Kante or David Silva, for example, whilst you might not have liked them, playing dazzling football against your own team at times, are pretty tough to dislike, and are, at the very least, widely respected, if not outright adored.
Genuinely good people. I like both of them, even though they don't play for my favorite team.
El Hadji Diouf, Carl Henry, and Kevin Muscat, by comparison, are footballers that only a mother could love. And even she must struggle, in the case of Muscat, after 9 months of him 2-footing her womb. That is a joke about Muscat's thuggish style of play, by the way.
Yeah, we got that. Thank you very much.
Suggesting that he had the same temperament as a fetus for comic effect. I am not suggesting that he has ever physically or sexually assaulted his own mother.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you for clearing that up.
There is absolutely no evidence to suggest that is the case, and I am more than happy to clear that up. But whilst some footballers are hated
John Terry
by a broad base of football fans, others are disliked only by a very specific set of fans. Tottenham Hotspur fans, for example, are not particularly fond of Sol Campbell.
Sol Campbell played for Tottenham and said he would never play for Arsenal, and he was a free agent, and he was able to go wherever he wanted, and he showed up at Arsenal.
For obvious reasons. Meanwhile, Sheffield United fans still haven't forgiven Carlos Tevers for the controversial role, shall we just say, that he played in relegating them from the Premier League. It is those types of players who are the focus of this video, but rather than being hated by...
Well, Sol Campbell's hated by one club, not really hated by one country.
The supporters of a single specific club, these players are hated by an entire nation. So with thanks to James B1312V2, who suggested this idea, I don't think that can have been his given name, you wouldn't have thought, but you never know, here are 7 footballers who are hated in a specific country. 7th, Peter Crouch, Trinidad and Tobago.
Now, the only reason I can think that he would be hated in Trinidad and Tobago is the goal that he scored in the World Cup 2006.
Peter Crouch is hated not only in Trinidad, but also in Tobago.
They're one country. Trinidad and Tobago is one country. I think he's making another humorous anecdote.
2 countries, which means that he must have done something really bad. Not really, that was just another one of my absolutely brilliant jokes. Trinidad and Tobago, or the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, to give it its full title, is very much just one country. And it is one of only 6 countries worldwide which contain the word "and" in their name. 5 points if you can guess the other 5 without cheating.
What do I get for those 5 points?
I will reveal them at the end of this video. With a population of fewer than 1.4 million people, Trinidad and Tobago is smaller than the likes of Kosovo and Bahrain, and the Caribbean island nation only declared independence from the United Kingdom in 1962. Perhaps it is little surprise that the Soccer Warriors, Trinidad and Tobago's national football team, are not regulars at the World Cup then. But it was fitting that 44 years on from gaining independence, a Trinidad and Tobago squad...
Yeah, I understand the hating Peter Crouch, but I would also think they would have hated Paul Caligiuri as well. In 1989, the United States played a World Cup qualifier, and all Trinidad and Tobago needed to do was draw, and they would go through to the World Cup in 1990, and Paul Caligiuri scored a goal, I believe in the 35th minute, and broke Trinidad and Tobago's hearts. I believe they even had plans for a national holiday the next day to celebrate, and Paul Caligiuri ended that. I'm surprised he's not mentioned here.
Containing the likes of Shaka Hislop, Dwight York and Stern John, should be drawn against England in the group stage of the 2006 World Cup. It was another English-based Trinidadian and Tobagian in the form of then Gillingham centre-back Brent Sancho, who was at the centre of the enormous controversy that has led Peter Crouch to be the most unpopular European in Trinidad and Tobago.
I guess he shouldn't be planning on celebrating a vacation there anytime soon.
Since the Spanish conquistador Antonio Cedeño in the 1530s. Many England fans had expected a comfortable win against Trinidad and Tobago.
And they were made to sweat for quite a while. It took a while before England actually scored.
But they would be in for a surprise. Trinidad and Tobago kept England at bay for 83 minutes, having also drawn their opening game 0-0 with Sweden, but with only 7 minutes left on the clock, David Beckham put a trademark right-footed ball into the box, Peter Crouch got up highest, and headed the ball into the back of the net.
Past Shaka Hislop.
At first glance, it looked like a perfectly legitimate goal. So, I do have some sympathy for the officials in the pre-VAR era for not disallowing it. But a slow-motion replay and, particularly stills, such as this one, revealed the ugly truth that would leave Trini football fans very reasonably feeling robbed. Crouch had a full fist of Sancho's hair as he headed the ball into the back of Shaka Hislop's net. In
other words, he fouled him and held him at bay while he headed the ball into the net. And you're going to find a lot of that, a lot of teams really upset about these goals, especially on big moments like this. If this was just a friendly, it'd be like, oh, you got away with one. But in the World Cup, while the whole world's watching, including a bunch of Trinidad and Tobagans back home and in the stadium, you can understand them be a little bit perturbed.
In an act that Sancho described as bodily assault. Crouch claims that he had no idea what he was doing or even what he had done.
And two things can be true at once. He may not have understood what he was doing, but I think if you have a fistful of somebody's hair, you kind of know what you're doing. Look, he's going aggressively for that ball, and he wants to put it in the net, so that's what he's doing.
Until he saw the photographs after the game, claiming that he was just looking to get any kind of leverage that he could to climb highest and head the ball.
And I think that's really what he was trying to do. I don't think he was trying to do anything wrong there.
He did make an apology to the people of Trinidad and Tobago on the Peter Crouch podcast. At the time, Trinidad and Tobago were the smallest country ever to make the finals of a FIFA World Cup, since surpassed by Iceland. And they haven't qualified for a World Cup since, so perhaps it is unsurprising that they still haven't forgiven Crouch.
Trinidad and Tobago is probably going to be playing the role of a spoiler, but now since the World Cup is expanding to 48 teams instead of 32, they might make a return back. But yeah, they're kind of perturbed because of that goal.
Who is fairly well liked among English football fans, whether he ever played for their club or not, and he certainly doesn't have a reputation for being a particularly dirty player.
He was never really a dirty player. He was tall. I remember him doing the robot dance, but, it is what it is.
6. Xherdan Shaqiri and Granit Xhaka.
This sounds and looks very, very political to me.
Serbia. Xherdan Shaqiri is, without any shadow of a doubt, the most hated footballer in Serbia. But given the intense dislike of Granit Xhaka in Serbia as well, and the overlapping reasons for that dislike, I thought I would break protocol and include them both. I know, I am a maverick. They said that it couldn't be done. The title says 7 footballers who are hated in one country. This means that there are actually 8. You could, quite legitimately, report me to trading standards, but this is Alfie Pottheimer we're talking about here. He doesn't play by the rules of ordinary football YouTubers. He's a disruptor, a bohemian, a rebel, and an outsider.
And we salute you. We salute Alfie Hammer.
Where were we? Oh yeah, Xherdan Shaqiri and Granit Xhaka are just 2 of a number of footballers who, either themselves or at least their parents, were refugees to Switzerland from the former state of Yugoslavia, having fled during the Yugoslav wars of 1991 to 2001. Those conflicts were pretty brutal, to put it mildly, resulting in almost 150,000 deaths and an estimated 4 million people being displaced. Both Shaqiri himself and Xhaka's parents were born in a part of Yugoslavia that now forms modern-day Kosovo to Kosovar Albanian parents.
And Kosovo has claimed independence, and it's not recognized.
In 2008, Kosovo declared independence, but Serbia does not recognize Kosovo.
Yeah, there we go. Kosovo claims independence, Serbia doesn't recognize it, and therein lies the problem.
Kosovo as being an independent state. You may have heard the slogan, Kosovo is Serbia, online in the past, which has become something of a meme, but is indeed the official position of the Serbian government. At the 2018 World Cup, when Switzerland faced Serbia, Xhaka and Shaqiri both scored in a 2-1 win.
And they made the wing eagle pose, if I'm not mistaken.
And both celebrated their goals by performing the so-called double-headed eagle gesture.
Double-headed eagle, yeah.
Which is used to symbolise Albania, reminiscent of the Albanian flag, and ethnic Albania.
And that's not going to tick anybody off, is it?
Both players received fines for what FIFA deemed to be political and offensive messages which threaten crowd disturbances. Whether they are offensive is obviously a matter of opinion, but they certainly outraged Serbian fans and politicians, much to the delight of many Kosovo supporters and politicians. Both players are widely despised in Serbia.
Yeah, you do something like that, they knew what they were doing, and they knew they were being watched by millions of people. Yeah, okay, that's just fanning the flames.
But there is a special disdain held in Serbia for Shaqiri. At the time, Serbia goalscorer Alexander Mitrovic hit back, questioning why, if Shaqiri loved Kosovo so much, he didn't take the opportunity to represent them instead of Switzerland. Shaqiri also wears boots which each display the Kosovo and Switzerland flags side by side, and when he came up against Albania in 2014, he added the Albania flag to his boots, and he didn't celebrate his opening goal in that game. Such is the hatred for Shaqiri in...
When he played for Liverpool, I think of Red Star Belgrade, I don't think he even... I think they left him home.
Serbia, that when Liverpool travelled to Belgrade to face Red Star in the Champions League in 2018, they chose to leave Shaqiri back home in Merseyside.
And that was a smart move.
Outside of Serbia, while some may be...
Shaqiri now plays in America for the Chicago Fire.
Frustrated with Shaqiri's inability to realise his full potential, he is viewed as a much more benign figure, now playing for Chicago Fire, who is capable of producing moments of sheer magic with his wand of a left foot. Fifth, Diego Maradona.
I don't know that he's actually hated in England. I can understand why they would hate him from the 1986 World Cup. You know, the hand of God. I remember watching that game. It was a clear hand ball, but he put it in a way that the referee couldn't see it. And since they didn't have VAR back then, the goal stood. But then he scored a goal of absolute brilliance. And, one of the most dubious goals and one of the greatest goals, maybe the greatest goal ever scored. So helped knock England out of the World Cup in 1986. So I guess we can understand why he would be hated for the hand of God, but I don't know that they really hate him.
England. An obvious one, but an interesting one nonetheless, and it is one that I've always been a bit conflicted about. Diego Maradona is one of the most complex and divisive characters in the history of world football, and also one of, if not the most ferociously talented footballers to have ever laced up a pair of boots.
Makes you wonder why even he has a right foot, because everything he pretty much did was with his left foot. But clearly one of the greatest players to ever step foot on the planet Earth. And there are plenty of videos, things you can watch on YouTube that prove that. Remember the argument was which was better, Pele or Maradona. I don't think you can go wrong either way. Both of them were outstanding. I don't like to judge, say one guy's better than the other.
As someone who was born and raised in England, I feel as though I was brought up to detest Diego Maradona. I can remember walking around the office where
Maybe they do hate him there. I've never been to England before, but I've heard that Maradona's been in England before, and some of the players actually wanted to meet him.
Dad worked as a kid when I was a kid, not him, just to be clear, when he had been forced to take me with him one day. It must have been in 2007 when Maradona first fell seriously ill, and someone had put up a photo of a rather unwell-looking Diego up on their desk, accompanied by the words, "Get well soon," and an expletive that I won't repeat for reasons of YouTube monetization. There are many legitimate reasons to dislike Maradona. The very credible allegations of domestic abuse following a video being leaked which appeared to show him hitting his former fiancée, chief among them. But the reality is that, one, that isn't the reason why most England fans dislike Maradona, and two, Maradona is still adored across much of the world outside of England. Even in England, particularly since Maradona's death, I think there is, at the very least, a begrudging respect and acknowledgement that the man behind the hand of God had more God-given talent with.
Now, I don't know what God had to do with that, because that was clearly Maradona saying. It's not like Maradona, like God anointed Maradona to use his hand to score a goal over Peter Shilton. But, okay, I've never really understood that reference, from a religious standpoint. But, if that's what he wants to call it, that's what it's become known as, and it's just what it's known as.
The ball at his feet, so to speak, than any player that English football has ever produced. Nonetheless, if you score quite possibly the most high-profile handball of all time in a World Cup quarter-final, which knocks one team out of the World Cup, whilst you go on narrowly to win it, people from that country are always likely to harbour a little bit of ill feeling towards you.
If this had happened in the group stages, and England had gone through and Argentina had gone through, it might have softened the blow somewhat. But no, this goal, I believe this was the first goal that was scored. I believe they were scored the goals that were scored were 4 minutes apart. I think this was the 51st minute, and then the 55th minute he scored that brilliant goal where he dribbled past the entire English team and scored, making it 2-0.
That ill will towards Maradona never really went away, even after all these years, and even though Peter Shilton still should have comfortably beaten Maradona, who stood at just 5'5" tall, to the ball, even with Maradona aided by an outstretched hand. Maradona was a cheat, like lots of players. But only in England, perhaps, is Maradona better known as a cheat than he is as a footballing genius. 4. Arjen Robben.
Now, this Arjen Robben is one of the best divers in football. And this has to go, I think, to the World Cup in 2014. Now, Mexico traditionally makes it to the round of 16. They've made it there since, I think, 94, 98. I'm trying to think of time. Yeah, they've made it for quite a long time. They have a history of making it to the second round, to the round of 16. And they also have a history of leaving the round of 16. Now, there's a lot of players that Mexico hates. Most of them are U.S. players, like Landon Donovan. They hate Landon Donovan. But Arjen Robben, what he did to knock them out of the World Cup, that takes a special amount of hatred that they have for him.
Mexico. I was a little bit apprehensive about including Arjen Robben in this 7 because there was a time, not all that long ago, when I think he was quite broadly disliked, not just in Mexico. Robben always had a reputation for going down easily,
but he also had a reputation with an amazing left foot. Now, one of the things he said, don't let him use his left foot. Keep him on his right foot. Don't let him use his left foot. And he scored amazing goals with his left foot.
Shall we say, particularly in the box, and particularly for his rather flamboyant swan dives, which were so dramatic that even when the Dutchman genuinely was fouled, sometimes you hoped that the decision might go against him.
He did a lot of those things. Sometimes you wonder why the referee would point to the spot, but he was an amazing diver.
At the 2014 World Cup, age 30, Robben's diving was probably at its peak, and 7 years on, Mexico fans certainly haven't. No, it's 8 years, isn't it? 8 years on, Mexico fans certainly haven't forgiven Robben for his behaviour against them in a crucial round of 16.
And keep in mind, it's not that he dove. Okay, it's when he dove and when he got the call that causes this.
Thrice Robben went down in the box, very elaborately, in search of a penalty, and on 2 occasions there appeared to have been no contact whatsoever. Robben even admitted, after that game, that there was no contact for the first and that he was wrong to dive. The third time, however, when there was just the slightest of contact...
Look, if Rafa Marquez is going to take you out, okay, he's going to take you out. Okay, it's not going to be a simple, wimpy kick of your legs. He's going to make you feel it. And again, I don't know why this referee, who didn't buy the first 2, why he would buy this one.
From Rafael Marquez, again Robben threw himself to the ground, and this time the referee pointed to the spot. What's more, Robben's flop came in injury time with the scores tied at 1-1, and when Klaas-Jan Huntelaar converted from just 12 yards out, he broke 100 million Mexican hearts. Mexico have reached the round...
You'd think they would have been used to it by now, reaching the round of 16 and going out.
Round of 16 in each of the last 7 World Cups, and haven't gotten beyond that stage since they hosted the tournament in 1986. As a massive, football-obsessed nation who had led in that game, Mexico felt Robben had illegitimately robbed them of their dream. The words "no era penal," which...
Well, let's be honest, the score is 1-1. It would have gone to extra time. There's nothing to say that Mexico would have actually broken the curse of going out of the round of 16. It's not like the score was 1-0 Mexico and that tied the game and took it to extra time or anything like that. It just if the referee doesn't call the penalty, they would have just gone to extra time, and Mexico still would have gone out, or still could have gone out.
It was not a penalty immediately became a slogan, meme, and hashtag in Mexico, one which is still etched in every Mexican football fan's mind. Robben insisted that, whilst he had dived earlier in that game, those dives had no influence on the outcome of the match, and when he went to ground to win the injury time penalty, which did decide the game, he had been fouled. To say that Mexicans remain unconvinced would be as
an American who generally roots against Mexico, no, dry that up. You can fertilize a lawn. Okay, it was not a penalty. It should never have been called, and the penalty kick should never have been awarded.
As much of an understatement as saying that Robben doesn't have very long hair, and even now, 8 years on, there is still at least one no-era penal tweet about Robben posted on Twitter every single day. Third, Thierry Henry, Republic of Ireland.
Yes, this is another one that I'm well aware of. Handball leads to a goal. Clear handball. I don't, I thought the first one, this is just my personal opinion, if you ever see it, it hits his hand, and then it looks like he plays it in front of himself and then crosses the ball. I think it's William Gallas who scored. Now, in my opinion, the first one was not was an accident, but the second one was. Okay, that's just my opinion. But yeah, I think this was the 2010 World Cup that it kept Republic of Ireland from going. But yeah, this was definitely handball, and that's what you're seeing a lot of these games where the player does a foul or does something dubious, to say the least. It ends up costing them rather big.
There are a few footballers who aren't particularly well liked in the Republic of Ireland, despite Irish football fans having a reputation for being among the most affable and high-spirited of any fan base in the world. Most recently, Jack Grealish and particularly Declan Rice have drawn the ire of Ireland fans, for reasons that I'm sure do not need explaining. The most hated player in Ireland, however,
if you won't need explanations because they decided to play for England,
hands down, at least from my experience, would still have to be
or more not for Ireland.
Thierry Henry, the second player to earn an inclusion in this 7, off the back of a very high-profile handball. Unlike Diego Maradona against England, Henry's handball didn't come at the FIFA World Cup, but in World Cup qualifying. Finalists in 2006, France finished second behind Serbia in their 2010 qualifying group, and were drawn against fellow group stage runners-up Ireland in one of 4 crucial playoff games. In the first leg, in Dublin, France won 1-0 courtesy of a second-half Nicolas Anelka strike. In the second leg, in Paris, Ireland were much the better team, and though they won the game 1-0, sending the tie into extra time, they really ought to have put the tie to bed by that stage. It was in the 103rd minute that Henry's infamous Le Hand of God moment happened, as he twice used the palm of his hand to keep Florent Malouda's deep ball towards the back post in play, which allowed him to quite simply square the ball for William Gallas to head home. Almost the entire Ireland team raced to the officials, but they weren't interested. Henry admitted, firstly to Richard Dunn and later to the television cameras, that he had illegally handled the ball. Not that the replays put that in any doubt. But
yeah, everybody knew he handled the ball. But like I said, I just my first reaction when I saw it was the first one was an accident. It wasn't that he intended to do it, but the second one, to get the ball in position to head to get it to Gallas, was intentional.
He maintained that it was the referee's job to spot law breaking like that and to punish it.
And to be fair, he's right on that. If you handball or you create a foul, the referee doesn't call it. It's not like you're going to self-officiate the game and say, goal can't be scored, or I'm going to, I handballed it. You need to blow your whistle. It's up to the referee to spot it and see it. If the referee doesn't see it, you can't call it.
The backlash against both Henry and the referee Martin Hansen supposedly led both to consider retiring from international football, though neither did, and France imploded at the 2010 World Cup.
One of the worst performances by a team in the World Cup. France was an embarrassment in the 2010 World Cup, and everybody was happy to see him go. But the French players, the players from the World Cup team of 1998, LeBlanc and Didier Deschamps, have turned La Bleu around, and now they're winning World Cups, and they're probably the favorites, one of the favorites to win the World Cup in 2022. But 2010 was a disaster for the French national team,
where they finished bottom of their group following a huge squad bust-up. Disgraced former FAI CEO John Delaney and the Irish government demanded that the game either be replayed or that Ireland be made the 33rd.
That was never ever going to happen. When as far as FIFA is concerned, they just want to play these games, and once they're played, that's it. Case closed, next case.
Team at the 2010 World Cup, an unprecedented request which was quite literally laughed off by FIFA and Sepp Blatter. FIFA did end up paying Ireland €5 million to settle that dispute, and the backlash following Henry's handball forced FIFA to commission an investigation into how technology could be used to help referees,
VAR,
which ultimately led to the creation of video assistant referees, better known as VAR. So, Ireland's hatred of Henry has had a significant legacy within the world of football, for better or for worse. Ireland still haven't qualified for a World Cup since 2002. Second, Emerson Sheikh, Iraq.
This is a Brazilian who represented Brazil, I think, at under 20s, and played for Qatar in the World Cup qualifier.
A couple of very high-profile examples that will most likely already have been familiar to most of you. I thought I'd throw in a bit of a curveball in second, since I don't talk nearly enough about Iraqi football on this channel. That is not to say that I don't talk about Iraqi football at all. I would highly recommend this documentary entitled Football and Fear in Iraq under Adai Hussein if you're still looking for something interesting to watch after this, but still...
Yeah, we didn't want to be an Iraqi footballer under the Husseins. That much is sure.
Not nearly enough. Adai Hussein had been dead for 5 years by the time of Iraq's 2010 World Cup qualifying campaign in 2008, however, which meant that Iraq's players could concentrate on their football without fear of death or torture should they lose. Drawn in a tough group up against Australia, Qatar and China, Iraq narrowly missed out on reaching the next round, losing 2-0 to a Qatar team that was packed full of naturalised Qatari citizens who were born and raised in South America.
And you see that a lot with a lot of Brazilians who are naturalized to play for, who are never going to play for Brazil, but they're naturalized and can play for other countries.
And elsewhere, as Brazilian-born Fabio Cesar Montezine scored both goals for Qatar against them. That might seem a little bit iffy, but it was all within FIFA's eligibility rules at the time. The fact that Qatar fielded Emerson, however, or Emerson Sheikh as he became better known in Qatar, was not. The Brazilian had previously played 6 times for Brazil's under-20s back in 1999, thus rendering him ineligible to represent Qatar.
Now, I know you're eligible nowadays for a one-time switch, even if you paid for the under-20s. I believe that's what the rule is now. If I play for, say, I played for Mexico's under-20s, and I wanted to play for the U.S. national team, I can apply for a one-time switch and play for the U.S. Now, if I played for Mexico in a FIFA sponsored, then I can't make that switch. But I believe that the rule is now that you still have the opportunity, even if you've played in a competition, that you can make a one-time switch. But back when he was playing, you couldn't do that.
Opening up the possibility for FIFA to strip Qatar of their 3 points won against Iraq.
And of course they didn't do it.
Which would have seen Iraq progress instead of them. FIFA confirmed that the breach of laws had happened, but claimed that the Qatari FA had not been responsible for any wrong.
Suggestions of a payoff probably there, but basically what they're simply saying is, yeah, the rules were broken, but we're not going to do anything about it.
I know, right? And therefore, no retrospective action would be taken. Iraqis were understandably furious, making Emerson persona non grata in Iraq, though as with a few inclusions in this 7, perhaps their anger would be better attributed elsewhere, such as with FIFA in this instance. First, Luis Suarez.
Now this one's a pretty obvious one, but keep in mind something. I understand that the Ghanaians hate Luis Suarez. I think God is in Uruguay's group in the World Cup coming up. But Luis Suarez used his hands to stop a shot. I forget who shot the ball from Ghana. Okay, basically played goalkeeper. He was punished. A penalty kick was awarded. And the Ghanaians missed it. Now, I understand their hatred for him, but what he did, okay, it's not like he got away with it. It's not like he handled the ball and the referee didn't see it, okay? What happened was he handled the ball, made a save like a goalkeeper would, got a red card, got sent off. Ghana had a penalty kick, and they missed the penalty kick. And so I think they're very misplaced. Look, I don't condone what he did, but it was his attempt to see if to keep his team from losing the game, and it worked.
Ghana. As with Ian Robben, there was a time when Luis Suarez was quite generally disliked within the world of football, and as with Diego Maradona, you could argue that there are very legitimate reasons for this.
Like taking a bite out of Chiellini in the 2010 World Cup.
Disliking the Uruguayan. Suarez has a charge sheet which,
and that looks like Al Capone there,
is almost as long as Al Capone's, with his diving, biting and stamping, leading many to label him as both a menace and a cheat. Even more seriously, Suarez was infamously found guilty by a 3-man panel of racially abusing Patrice Evra. I remember this incident. I've forgotten a lot about it. It was probably it wasn't a good thing. And I remember the thing I remember is when Suarez went down the line to shake hands with the players, he would reach out his hand on Patrice Evra. That was not what the cause is. I forget I think he said something to him during the game. I don't remember a whole lot about that. I just remember that after this incident, when they played, he wouldn't shake Evra's hand in the line, and that was cause of contention as well. in 2011, and Suarez further outraged football fans when he refused to shake Evra's hand.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
When the two teams next met. Nonetheless, hatred of Suarez largely seems to have dispersed in recent years, perhaps not among certain sets of supporters, but he has certainly been involved in fewer controversies over the last 5 or 6 years.
He's an amazing player, he's an amazing striker, and scores a lot of goals. And the way he was dismissed from Barcelona by Ronald Koeman was absolutely atrocious as far as I'm concerned, but still a great player.
Whilst continuing to perform at a very high level. One group of football fans who don't appear to have,
like I said, the Black Stars are very ticked off at him.
Much forgiveness for Suarez is Ghanaians, and indeed football fans throughout much of Africa. Whilst there is a great rivalry between many African nations, when Ghana made it to the quarterfinals of the first World Cup to be held on African soil,
they had a chance to become the first African team to make it to the semifinals. I don't believe an African team has made it to the semifinals of the World Cup. And if Suarez had let not used his hands and the ball would have gone in, Ghana would have gone through.
In 2010, almost all of Africa was willing them on to get past Uruguay and to reach the semis. Ghana took the lead just before half-time, but Diego Forlan levelled the scoreline in the 55th minute. The game went to extra time, and in injury time during extra time, Dominic Adeyeye looked to have headed home the winner, only for Suarez to bat the ball off the line with his hand. Suarez was sent off, but Asamoah Gyan failed to convert from 12 yards out, and Uruguay went on to win the shootout and break African and especially Ghanaian hearts.
Like I said, he did the only thing he could do to prevent a goal by Ghana. He did all he could. He was punished for it. Ghana got a penalty kick. They missed the penalty kick. You know, it's not like he handled it and the referee missed it. Okay? Ghana had an ample opportunity with the penalty kick to score, but they failed.
Gyan later described Suarez
again
as the most hated man in Ghana, more hated than any gangster or corrupt politician. In 2020, 10 years on from that incident, John Pansel maintained that Ghana still hadn't forgiven Suarez and never would, claiming that no African footballer would have cheated in the way that he did.
I'm not so sure I agree with that, but when you're talking about a World Cup quarterfinal, it's on African soil, and the opportunity to play in the semifinal, become the first African team to do it. You can it's not like I don't understand Ghana's frustration and anger.
Pansel's claims may have been slightly undermined by Gyan himself, who stated that he would have done the same at the opposite end, but whatever your views on that particular issue are, the reality is that only Suarez actually did it, and the hatred that he still inspires in Ghana ensures that he takes top spot in this seven.
I worked with a Ghanaian, a man from Ghana, at one of my jobs, and he's still angry. I've explained it to him how I see it, and it still doesn't appease it. He is still angry about the whole thing. As far as he's concerned, Luis Suarez is the worst person on the planet, and I don't think that's never going to change.
That is it for today's video, but the other 5 countries with the word "and" in them, in case you were wondering and had made your guesses, along with Trinidad and Tobago, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Sao Tome and Principe, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I got the last 4, but even though I didn't say it, but I knew about the other 4. The one doesn't matter because they're in my region, and the U.S. has played them on some occasion for World Cup qualification. But
Without wanting to sound too much like Richard Osman on Pointless, genuinely, congratulations if you got all of them. Thank you, or even just...
I'm not going to claim I got all.
Any of them, just congratulations. Well done on, still being alive. Thank you all very much, as ever, for watching.
Okay, this was a good video. I enjoyed it. 7 footballers were hated in one country by HITC Sevens. Please hit like and subscribe on his channel, and please hit like and subscribe on my channel. Really enjoyed this one. Fun video. Thanks.